Should there be sex or celibacy in marriage? Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Matters That Matter. I'm Simran and I'm in a conversation with my mentor, Susie Singh. Susie, we received a very interesting question from one of our viewers, and she wrote into us saying that for the last 3 years, she has been trying to practice celibacy in her married life, which has created a lot of friction with her husband. And what she wants you to answer today is, should one avoid having sex in married life?
This is a question that has been posed to me several times in one-on-one sessions. And I must thank this viewer for actually finding the courage to ask this openly so that this dialogue can be brought out of the closet and onto a public platform such as this channel. So thank you very much for asking the question, because I'm sure a lot of women may be seeking an answer to this. There are many sexless marriages today, and of course, the reasons for that are different at different life stages in the marriage. However, the question that she's asking, I guess, means she's interested in knowing that from a karmic perspective, which is the more useful practice, to abstain and be celibate, or to indulge in the act of sex. So the first thing I would like to say is that when we address karmic issues, it becomes very important that we look at the impact that particular decision or that action of ours is having upon the other and upon the ecosystem. And if this decision to be celibate is causing constant friction, fights with her spouse, which then is going to have a ripple effect on their ecosystem of the family unit and going to create more stress in the family, then obviously from a karmic perspective, this decision is harmful. It is not serving the purpose of building karma, because indirectly you are hurting another person, maybe not willfully, maybe not intentionally, but unintentionally and unconsciously you are hurting your spouse. And then the bad moods may be rubbing off onto the children or the in-laws in the environment or the house help, etc. So that is the first aspect that needs to be understood. Then it is very important to open that discussion up further and see, how does choosing celibacy impact the members in the marriage, the two partners? Marriage as an institution is actually supposed to allow permissive intimacy. And most marriages assume that exclusivity is part of the arrangement of being married. What this means is that the partner cannot go out and seek intimacy outside with another person. So the very first thing is, since it is a biological need in a man to experience the need for sexual release cyclically, how does he deal with this biological need if the marriage does not permit him to seek sexual intimacy outside of the marriage and also not receive it in the marriage? The question needs to be dealt with. It can't be brushed under the carpet. If it is assumed that I am choosing celibacy because of whatever reasons I might have, but I'm not interested in what your problem is, or I'm going to judge the fact that your libido may be higher or more active than my libido, then that's not really a marriage. Because a marriage means that the partners come together to solve any crisis in their lives and also come to the middle ground when there is a disagreement. So understand that this person, if he's being denied of a certain need, and we know that the biological needs are strong, hunger is a biological need, so is the libido and the sexual need. Now, if it is going to be denied to him, it is going to emerge in different ways maybe in irritation, maybe in anger, because it is a chemical release, the highs of the hormones. And if they don't find the release, then they will get uh, transmuted into something else. And usually, like I said, they will get transmuted into irrationalities of behavior. And that again can be damaging and impact the ecosystem. So the question then arises as to why do you want to practice celibacy? Now, some people have beliefs which are religious or spiritual in nature, and they believe that after a certain age, perhaps a woman or a man should not want or have a physical desire at all. And a lot of these are misfounded, actually. They don't have any evidence to support this belief. Because if there is a drying up of the sexual urge, from a psychospiritual perspective, what that reflects is that there is a blockage on the sacral center or the second chakra level or the sex chakra level. And there is no energy flow moving beyond. So it is an underperforming chakra, which means we then need to go into the examination of what caused the blockage at that level. Now, the sex chakra does not only relate to sexuality, it also relates to your entire creative energy. So your creativity, your expression is linked to all of this. Your search for the truth, your understanding of the truth is linked to all of these things, or your ability to get joy out of your creative endeavors, whether it's the gardening or the interior decoration, whatever. Having a blocked second chakra will not only block your sexuality, it will also block the joy that you receive from those creative endeavors. And so you must examine what's blocking this. In a lot of women, what I find is that with the passage of time, the relationship or the marriage begins to sour because there is just so much mechanical reality that enters the relationship. So it's more about the tasks that need to be done and the bills that need to be paid and the pressures of life and kids and reality checks. And all of that then converts this relationship more into when we get together, we tick off our job list, or we fight, or we disagree. And then it's hard to have any real attraction towards each other. Also, what happens is because a lot of the fighting happens in the relationship where judgments are involved, criticism may be involved. So it's hard to feel loving towards someone who you think doesn't think highly of you or criticizes you all the while. So we can see that love has gone out of the window or attraction has gone out of the window. The relationship has soured, and now you're expected to engage in sexuality with someone who you have no affections or warm feelings or positive feelings towards. And that obviously is going to dry up the sexual energy between the two people. I think this points to a dysfunctional marital relationship more than anything else. And therefore, the question that needs to be addressed is not should there be sex or celibacy in marriage, but is my marriage needing renovation? Do I need to rehaul the quality of my relationship with my partner? Do I need to renew it with fresh energy? Has our understanding broken down somewhere? Are we still connected with each other? Or is this relationship, dated? And have we forgotten to be truly in a relationship with each other? Are we relating to each other or not? And I think there is where the love can be renewed or the attraction can be renewed. If you just tell your partner that I have chosen celibacy, what is the impact it's going to have on him? He may end up thinking that maybe she's not attracted to me anymore. Maybe I'm not desirable. Maybe she doesn't respect me. Maybe I'm not good enough for her. Maybe she's attracted to another man. Now we can see all of these maybes and what ifs will translate into him feeling rejected or dejected in some manner. And that is going to boomerang on her because unconsciously and unknowingly, he's going to reject her. Those are the power games that happen subliminally between couples. And the relationship is going to become worse. So, very important to bridge this relationship again, to sit down and spend time understanding, and to enroll the other partner into the reason for your celibacy. Now, if the reason for celibacy arises from some kind of a medical issue, for example, if you're approaching menopause and you have a problem, there are young women who are in sexless marriages because they find intercourse too painful. There are other women who have all kinds of childhood fears, and therefore there is a fear of intimacy. If it is a medical issue that is resulting in celibacy, then the couple can explore other ways of expressing their love and intimacy for another. It doesn't mean that you have to go all the way, but you can certainly communicate your loving affection on the physical level to each other, hugging, holding, cuddling, and so many other things. And they can speak to the gynecologist or to the respective doctors for more details about how they can make their relationship more rewarding or mutually rewarding in such a case. But to just dishonor the need of your partner is going to result in conflict. And I think what is missing here is an empathy for how it impacts the other person. There is also a lack of knowledge about how, at a biological level, the fact that a man experiences a biological high, sexual hormonal high every 7 days, as against a woman who experiences it around 21 days. And therefore, there may be differences in the libido expressions. And yet, is there a middle path? Is there a way to renew the feeling of being wanted? As long as there is the mutual feeling of being wanted in the relationship, you can always solve for the problem. If there is a religious perspective, can you enroll your partner into your beliefs? And if you cannot enroll them into the beliefs, at least can you have an open dialogue with your partner about, this is the reason. It has nothing to do with you personally. It's not that I don't find you attractive, or I don't love you anymore, or I don't respect you, but it's more that this is my belief and this is the origin of my belief. So I think these things are really, really important. And the fact that one should not mix up sexuality with spirituality, and which is why perhaps it's important to look at the intimacy not in terms of sex, but in terms of making or expressing love. And sex is something which happens at the physical plane. And if it is if the quality of your intimacy is only sexual, then clearly you need to develop a deeper bond with each other. Sex must become sacred, and therefore it must become an expression of communicating your love and care for another person, your empathy for another person, the desire to understand their needs and what's happening in their minds. And I think most importantly, couples must continue to have transparent conversations about the way their bodies are changing, the way their beliefs are changing as they go through life. And this is something that rarely ever happens between couples. What I find in my clinical work is that couples are very shy about communicating even how they like to be pleasured or what they find desirable or not desirable. And it's almost like the act of intimacy is not something that ought to be discussed. But that is a misnomer. It's very important to discuss what you find comfortable, what you find uncomfortable, what is pleasing and what is not. And that will allow you to trust each other a lot more, to engage or enter into that intimacy in a very, very sacred way, where you don't look at that coming together of that partnership or that intimacy as something that's bad or dirty or wrong, but you bring it together as a extension of your spiritual expression in the body, where you sanctify it, where you make that expression almost holy. And I suspect that in a lot of cases, this doesn't happen because women tend to think that this is something that they do for their husbands. I
Yeah.
think that needs to change also, because it's not wrong for women to want to receive pleasure. just as it's not wrong for men to want to receive pleasure. So these gender attributed beliefs need to be overcome, and women must not see it like a dirty task. They must see it as a task where there is, or not even a task, they must see it as a giving and receiving of love. So if this switch can be made, then it won't be so much about a sex or celibacy in marriage. It'll be about how can we be together in this marriage. And this question indicates that this marriage can really do with greater coming closer of their minds and their hearts more than their bodies. And once the minds and the hearts become closer, then the bodies will naturally respond in a spontaneously loving way.
Right, I totally agree with that. And like you mentioned, a lot of women treat sex or are brought up on this idea that sex is something that is morally bad and sex is something that women should not want or should not enjoy, which creates a lot of shame in women if they even have a desire or if they enjoy something like sex. On the other hand, I find that in our culture, it is men who are brought up in a very hypersexual way, in which they are encouraged to want sex and go after it and enjoy it. So how does, when two partners come together, a man who is being brought up with this hypersexuality, a woman who's been told to shun this, how can they come together in a healthy way, and for a woman to shed the shame and for a man to empathize and embrace what their partner is feeling? How can they comfortably build that relationship together?
I think first they need to individually want to explore this aspect in their own minds and in their own beliefs. Because if a woman is totally accepting of the belief that she's the underdog and that she ought not receive any kind of satisfaction sexually, then there is very little that can happen. Because unless she's willing to reform her beliefs, unless she's willing to have a more neutral approach to her own self first and the needs of her own body, which she's blocking, and which is why we find that so many women have a blocked second chakra,
Yeah.
because they do not see it's almost like rejecting the second chakra.
Mm.
They think that the second chakra is only a passage for birthing children. But once you have given birth to your children, then that chakra ought to be blocked. And which is why mostly women in their middle age, once they've given birth to their children, you'll find their sexuality drying up, because subliminally they think that that chakra has served its purpose and now it's time to seal it. But
Mm.
what they don't realize is that the energy flows from the root through the Swadhisthana chakra into the solar plexus and then into the higher chakras, even to awaken their own spirituality.
Mm.
And if you're going to block it off at the second chakra, which is your own creative energy, you will never even reach the place of feeling self-empowered,
Mm.
because it's the next chakra, which is the empowerment chakra. And your energy is blocked off at second itself. And by the time you birth your children, you start actually and subliminally blaming the children. Okay, now that I'm a mother and I can't spoil their lives and therefore I have to suffer and be in this marriage. And there's a lot of mental justification that goes on, internal dialogue that goes on. So you just think that you have to live in this self-sacrificing relationship whether or not you're happy. And that is victimhood. Whereas if you are willing to make the change and transform your own mind and thoughts, the change has to happen on your inside. And if you make that change within you, then everybody around you is also going to accordingly change, because they mirror what's on your inside. So I would really say that women need to take it upon themselves to have a healthier relationship with their body, their sexual needs, their own minds, their attitude towards intimacy. And then that can translate into healthy dialogues around sexuality with their partners. And then the secondary aspect is that the partners need to be, when the female partner is willing to openly discuss it and shed her inhibitions, that the man in the relationship must be open and receptive and responsive to her liberated views.
Yeah.
So if that can happen, then they can together build a very sacred relationship, and a very beautiful one, a very fulfilling one in all ways.
So I think transparency, communication, and mutual decision making regarding these matters is what is essential to answer these questions for one's relationship subjectively.
Yeah. And I think what precedes is a very healthy attitude towards your own body and sexual need if you're a woman.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I think we have a long way to go in that direction. Thank you so much, Susie, for answering this question. I hope this helps our viewers. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you soon.